Hello everyone, my name is Ryan Cam, and well, because I tape so much in advance, I forgot to realize that some of my episodes have gone into December. So I have corrected that by busting out my favorite ugly Christmas sweater. This is representative of my alma mater, Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University. Go Eagles. Today I'm going to be talking about the movie that made Martin Scorsese into the director that we know him as today. It's called Taxi Driver. It was directed by Martin Scorsese, like I mentioned, and it starred Robert De Niro, Jodie Foster, Harvey Keitel, and others. And if you've clicked on this video, then more than likely you have seen Taxi Driver. However, for the two of you that have never seen this movie, here's what happens. A taxi driver, I know, strange, right, named Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro, is pretty much disenfranchised with his life. He really can't sleep, he has a bad diet. All that he really has is just his job as a taxi driver, in which he spends all night driving around the crime-ridden and filthy streets of New York City. But his life begins to take a turn for the better when he meets Betsy, played by Sybil Shepherd, who works for a potential presidential candidate named Charles Palantine. They meet and they eventually form a relationship. However, through a series of unfortunate events, they break up, and Travis doesn't take it all too well, and so dedicates his life to killing Palantine, as well as taking out the pimp who is controlling a friend of Bickle's, played by Jodie Foster. This is one of those movies that I had always heard of, but had never really seen, until a little movie called Joker came out. In literally every review I either read/watched, it was always brought up that Joker was essentially Taxi Driver, but replaced Travis Bickle with Arthur Fleck. Curiosity got to me, so I finally sat down and watched the movie. And I could definitely see the comparisons, now having seen Taxi Driver and Joker. However, I don't know if it's because I've been about a year now removed from all of the crap that surrounded the Joker movie, or it's just the fact that now I've seen Taxi Driver more than once, but I gained a much bigger appreciation for this movie the second time around. Firstly, let's talk about Robert De Niro, because I am convinced that the late 70s till maybe even to the late 80s and into the mid 90s, that was peak Robert De Niro. He was in Godfather Part 2, he was in a lot of Scorsese movies, including Taxi Driver. I mean, Robert De Niro was clicking on all cylinders for a solid maybe decade, maybe more. And Taxi Driver, you can definitely see him working at the peak of his career. De Niro kind of disappears into this role. Travis Bickle is someone who is thoroughly lost in life. All he really has for him is his job as a taxi driver, and on occasion he'll take himself to a porno theater. No, I'm not kidding. There's a scene where he literally buys a ticket and goes to a movie theater to watch porn. That's pretty much all he has. When he finally meets Betsy, it's like a light bulb flickers. You're like, whoa. And he just gets an immediate connection. However, he thoroughly bungles it, and like I said, he doesn't take it too well. And in my research, I found that Robert De Niro pretty much put in the extra mile to make this character work. He was filming a movie called 1900, shot in Italy, at the same time as Taxi Driver. So he would fly to Italy, shoot some stuff for that movie, then fly to New York, literally drive himself around in a taxi cab for about a couple weeks, and then fly back to Italy. During all of this, he lost about 35 pounds and would do nothing but just listen to diaries of criminals all day. He did all of that just to get into the head of Travis Bickle, and he pulled it off like a master. Another point about this movie that I didn't catch the first time around but caught upon this rewatch was just how much of a character New York City played in this whole story. New York City feels lived in, it feels dirty, it feels like a place that you would never want to venture. The cinematography, combined with the beautiful score by legendary composer Bernard Herrmann, just makes this feel very unique. Herrmann's score can be very jazz-like and very smooth, but then at a snap of a finger can go deathly serious real quick. And now let's talk about the side characters, because yeah, the side characters are just as good as Robert De Niro is. Probably the one that sticks out in my mind is Jodie Foster. Of course, Jodie Foster has had a long and lengthy career that's still going to this very day. Like, she was in Contact, she was in Silence of the Lambs. Like, she's been everywhere. And she won an Oscar for this role. She was 12 years old when she was in that movie. And that's just crazy to think about, but it happened. And the rest of the side characters are just plain scumbags. You got Wizard, played by Harvey Keitel, who is a pimp, but just a very, the worst kind of pimp. Like if you picture a pimp in your head, that is the worst version possible. And just to doubly show how much of a character New York City plays in this story, you have other side characters played by the likes of Peter Boyle and Albert Brooks, who are just criminals. But despite all of this is the Travis Bickle show. It's about his, sort of rise and deep fall, and then sort of rise again. That's about as best as I can describe it. Because when he meets Betsy, things start to improve for him. But then when she breaks up with him, he goes straight into the gutter. But instead of picking up his old lifestyle, he decides to discipline himself and focus in on a purpose in his life. But unfortunately, that purpose is to kill Charles Palantine. It's not until Travis meets Iris, the Jodie Foster character, that his sights go from Palantine to taking out the piece of crap Wizard. And this results in one of the best final gun battles I think I've ever seen. The movie shoots this in a way that it's not flashy, but it's very guerrilla and very raw feeling. Because in Bickle's mind, his life is meaningless. All he wants to do is just help Iris out as best he can. So the sort of rise would be his relationship with Betsy, the big fall was the breakup, and then he starts to slowly climb himself out of the pit with the purpose to kill Palantine, only to realize that it's much more worthwhile to take out Wizard. At least that's my interpretation. I am not a cinema studies major, and I'm not even close. And with that in mind, now that I have seen this movie more than once, I kind of understand why the comparisons between Joker and Taxi Driver were made, but at the same time, I also kinda don't. Because what I can remember of Joker is that in Joker, the Joker goes all the way with his evil plan. He doesn't stop himself, he just goes full gusto with it. And in Taxi Driver, it is teased that Bickle is going to try and kill Palantine, but in the end, he doesn't. So in Taxi Driver, it is implied that Travis Bickle has a moral center. It's, that big, but there is a moral center nonetheless. Joker shows that Arthur Fleck has no moral center. There is a difference. So again, I sort of get the comparisons, but in a weird roundabout way, it's very generalized and without a ton of nuance. I don't know, that's just my stance on it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. But at the end of the day, Taxi Driver is just as good as people make it out to be. It's an excellent movie. But that is all for me, guys. Thank you so much as always for watching. Next time on the AFI Project, we're going to be doing a bit of an accidental double feature featuring Robert De Niro. And next up, we're going to be talking about The Deer Hunter. But if you like this video, please be sure to leave a like, comment your thoughts down below, and if you like this video and you want to see more like it, hit the subscribe button and click the bell to allow notifications. That way when a new video drops, you'll be the first to know. My name is Ryan Cam, and I'll see you in the next one.